Amiji will start. पाशेक्षुचापौ मधुपूर्णपात्रं महाङ्कुशं पुष्पवरं शरञ्च करैर्दधानाम् अरुणां त्रिनेत्रां कामेश्वरीं नित्यमहं भजामि. Namaste everyone and welcome to this wonderful webinar which is conducted by Shri Kameshwari Foundation on the occasion of Shri Rama Navami. This has been titled as Celebrating Shri Rama. And today we have a special lecture by Shri Ami Ganatraji, who is a well-known author of two bestsellers, that is Ramayana Unraveled and Mahabharata Unraveled. So before I request Ami Ganatraji to go forward with her talk, I would like to just give a small introduction about our foundation. Shri Kameshwari Foundation has been founded by myself, Srinivas Jamalamadka, and my elder brother, Sugnarana Jamalamadka. So our main objective of is to preserve, protect, and propagate anything related to Sanatana Dharma or Sanatana literature and Indian knowledge systems. So to keep it very short, I would just describe our foundation's objective to be this. And before we start this wonderful talk, I request Shri Raivata Ghanapathi ji to start this session with Vaidika Mangalacharana.
Om Gananantva Ganapati Gum Havamahe Kavim Kavinamupamashravastamam Jyeshtarajam Brahmanam Brahmanaspata Anashrunvannotibhis Siddhasadanam Sa ijjanena sa vishasa janmana sa putrairvajam bharate dhanam rubhihi Devanayah pitarama vivasati shraddhamana havisha brahmanaspatim Prano devi saraswati vaje bhirvajinivati dhinama vitrayavatu Ano divo brahatah parvatada saraswati yajatagantu yajnam Havan devi jujushana ghritachi shakman no vachamushati shrunotu Yah purvyaya vedhase naviyase sumajjanaye vishnave dadashati Yo jatamasya mahato mahipravat Sedushravo bhiyujyanchidabhyasat Tamustotarah purvyanyatha vidartasya Garbhagum havisha pipartana Asya jananto nama chidvivaktana Bruhatte vishno sumatim bhajamahe Stomatrayastrigumshe bhuvanasya patri vivaspattvate abhino grunahi Ghatavati savitaradhipatyai payasvatirantiraashano astu Dhruvadisham vishnu patnyaghorasyeshana sahaso yamanota Brahaspatirmatarishvota vayussandhuvana vata abhino grunantu Vishtambho divo dharunah prithivya asyeshana jagato vishnu patni Vishvavyacha ishayanti subhuti shivano astvaditirupasthe Bhadram karne bhishrunayama devaha Bhadram pashyemakshabhiryajatraha Sthirirangai stuštuvagum sastanubhihi Vyashema devahitam yadayuhu Swastina indro vruddhashravaha Swasti nah pusha vishvavedaha Swasti nastarkshyo arishtanemihi स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः.
Thank you, Raivata. And before I wish to just introduce Ami Ganatraji. Ami Ganatraji is alumni of IIM Ahmedabad and VJTI of Mumbai. And she has over 14 years of experience in business strategy and consulting. And despite of all this professional career, she has learned Sanskrit by her Sanskrit and has gone through all the epics and has come up with wonderful books that are Ramayana Unraveled and Mahabharata Unraveled, which are very much popular. And we are very much fortunate that today we have Amiji on our webinar, and I welcome you, Ami Ganatraji, to our platform. And I request you to kindly let us know, because many people have till now you have given many interviews, and in many occasions that you have shared about the lesser known facts regarding the works which have you done. But I request you to kindly even throw some light in addition to one or two main points regarding Ramayana. At the same time, what was the triggering point for you to actually in a lateral stage in your life start a journey to learn Sanskrit and again go through all the epics and write these? Because after reading your book, I felt that it is actually a duty of people who have undergone the traditional learning process on regarding Shastras or Sanskrit, have to do these kind of works, come up with these kind of works. But you actually being an outsider kind of a thing, how come? Because that is a very inspiring thing for me, where I realized that it is a part of kind of a duty, like people, for us to actually do some research and come up with such kind of a works. But what was the triggering point is one thing I request you to cover. And another thing is, how did Maharshi Valmiki, Vyasa Bhagavan, Shri Rama and Shri Krishna guide you in the whole process of going through giving a reading while going through the epics? What was your experience? And kindly share us if you have any anecdotes wherein you found the Bhagavat Sankalpa or Ishwar Sankalpa, which we call it as, wherein the divine force has actually shown that this is the purpose for which you are doing all these works.
Namaste Srinivasji, namaste everybody. Ram Navmyaha Hardaha Shubhashayaha. Ram Navmi ki hardik shubhkamnaएं aap sabko. And I'm very, very happy to be here today amongst all of you to talk about Shri Ram and Ramayana. So before I start on Ramayana, we must do a small vandan to Valmiki ji. So, Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakha Vande Valmiki Kokilam Hari Om. Jai Shri Ram. So Srinivasji, you asked if I have had that experience of Devanugraha and the guidance from Deva for doing this. I think the whole thing, the whole prakalpa is Devanugraha. The whole prakalpa is Dev Sankalpa. I have just become a nimitta to make this happen. I never ever had the faintest idea ever that someday I will be able to talk about these topics, or someday I would have written on these topics. My journey was the usual: engineer, MBA, consultant, doing well, all going fine, and life, again, Bhagavad Kripa, has been good so far. However, at some point, like all of us, I had a lot of questions about our epics to begin with. There is this phase in life when you question your identity. You want to know where you've come from, and there were some incidences that happened. There were some books I read, and I was like, why do we call our Mahabharata and Ramayana, why do we call them Dharma Grantha? Because clearly everybody seems to be saying very different things about it. One end, they'll tell us there are so many Ramayans, right? There is an essay which says there are 300 Ramayans, anything goes. Now, when anything goes, people also say, oh, actually, there is no Dharma Dharma. It is about a racial fight between Arya Ram and Dravidian Ravan. So it is not really, it has nothing to do with dharma or good or bad or anything. It is just a racial conflict. Then some others will say, oh, actually Ravan was better. There is this subaltern theory that Ravan was actually better. See, he didn't even touch Sitama. And here you have Shri Ram sending her away. Yeah. Then you have people say, oh, Dharmaraj, what Dharmaraj? He staked his wife. And clearly I was so confused. I'm like, what are the texts really trying to say? Is there really something like good or bad? Or in our culture, everything goes? Yeah, everything is gray. There is no white, there is no black, everything is just gray. And I'm like, if that is the case, why are they Dharma Grantha? They are like any other story which can be told and retold as one wishes. Now, I was not getting answers to these questions at all. I was very, very, very confused. There used to be lots of discussions, arguments, and all of that. And I didn't know where I stood. Because somewhere there was a Shraddha that it can't be so haphazard. It can't be that there is no direction in this. And on the other hand, whatever I read, and now I realize that whatever I was reading was actually just fiction. It was not based on Valmiki Ramayana or Mahabharata at all. These were fiction creations, beautifully written, but it was an author's imagination about how they took a protagonist which had the same name and maybe same background as a character from our itihas, but the story was made in a way to justify that character. And for that, if they had to twist incidents, they'd done that. If they had to create incidents, they had done that. If they had to create relationships, they had done all of that. So clearly, I realized that I cannot get my answers from this at all. Which means if I really need to know, I need to get deeper into this. And I will also say this, Srinivasji, and with very, very responsibly about it, and not to be condescending or not to attack or accuse anyone. Even a lot of kathavachaks that I heard, coming from traditional background, I did not get my answers there as well. Because I realized that a lot of what they say is more often than not also not based on Valmiki Ramayana. Yeah. So that was also the case. So I'm like, okay, if I need to know, I need to know basically from what the text have to say. Now, when I started that, I realized that the translations, if just followed blindly, can mean something completely different from the bhav of the text. And I had that experience with something else that I was reading, in which I was referring to this foreign author who'd done an English translation. And I realized, okay, if I read only the translation, again, it will not lead me anywhere. It will confuse me even more. So basic working knowledge of Sanskrit is required. And that is where then I started. I do not claim to have any Sanskrit scholarship of the sense that Vyakaran is good or anything like that. I have a basic working knowledge, which means that I can see a shloka, and if I read the translation, if the translation is wrong, I will know, and I will get the bhav of the shloka. That much working knowledge I have. And as far as prose goes, quite a bit. But it's not as if I'm a Sanskrit Shastri or anything like that. That I don't have, and I very openly admit that. But a working knowledge is good. And I realized that itself did help me significantly as I was doing my adhyayan. So having knowledge of Sanskrit, I think, is a must if somebody wants to get deeper into that. Without that, to nahi hoga. Because then you realize how different one word can have multiple meanings and has been explained in different ways by different people. And everything then depends on a specific context in which it is used. Specific context, specific trend, and all of that. Anyway, so that's how the journey started. Again, the journey was only to satisfy my curiosity and to get my answers. There was no intention of writing or anything like that at all. In that period, as I was studying anyways, and I must say, I started with Mahabharata because in my mind, I used to feel like a lot of other people. And now when I speak to a lot of youngsters and when they tell me that, ma'am, we can't relate to Sri Ram at all. He seems very rigid. He seems very idealistic. We can't be so idealistic in today's world at all. Krishna, we can understand. Krishna is fun because he breaks rules. So we can live, this is in today's Kali-yuga, this is the way for us to live. And I understand that completely because this is how even I used to think. I used to find Mahabharat a lot more fun, lot more happening. And that is why I started with Mahabharat. But having gone through that now in detail multiple times over, having written about it, I must say Mahabharat, of course, is Mahabharat, it has its place. But Ramayana has been an emotionally transformative journey, something completely unexpected that I underwent even while writing and even when I talk about it. So the journey has pretty much been, from questions to deep Shraddha and devotion. That has been my journey, but again, it is not through me at all. I just ended up on this path without ever even having thought about it. And then writing was a complete Devanugraha, absolute Krishna Kripa, because I was simply writing Facebook posts when the lockdown happened, saying that, oh, what we are saying, because they started playing Ramayana Mahabharat again. So I would now, because I knew what the actual incidents were and what events were and how they had been twisted completely and the meaning had completely changed. So I would just write posts saying that, okay, aisa nahi hai, aisa hai, with sources, with screenshots. And my friend Praveen Tiwari ji, who's a publisher with Bloomsbury at that time, he reached out and he said, there's so much written on Mahabharat Ramayana, but everybody writes only fiction. And in that fiction, it clearly feels like none of us know what Mahabharat Ramayana really have in them. Either it is the full set that you read, or it is even the abridged versions, which are again quite big. Again, abridged versions don't really, I mean, they are they are linearly written. So they are not in the form that the analysis can come out. So why don't you attempt something of that sort? And I was like, it's to write a book is something very different from writing a Facebook post. So I'm like, okay, agar main likh bhi do to padhega kaun? And he said, no, you just give it a shot. I had just come back from Hong Kong at that time. So I said, chalo, I don't want to work. I will anyways take a break. And this thing just came to me. This thing just literally came to me without any thought. If this is not Devanugraha, what else is? So life so this path itself has been Devanugraha, and I can only be extremely grateful for having been given this opportunity and for becoming a Nimitta, for being able to at least share whatever little I understand of the epics. So that's been the journey of the writing per se.
Thank you. So, and going to the main this thing of today's theme. I request you to kindly maybe throw some light upon why Shri Rama is called as Maryada Purushottama, or an embodiment of Dharma himself. Murti Bhuta Dharma. So this is how we normally know him. And what are the kinds of misinterpretations that you have come across regarding Ramayana or Sri Rama, and what are the findings that you have found? What are the findings while you were studying the Valmiki Ramayana?
Okay, so before getting into the contents, let me set a baseline to this talk. Yeah, whatever I'm going to say is going to be based on Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, now why does it matter to establish the baseline? Because yes, there have been multiple Ramayans that have been written, and not all Ramayans. I mean, Ajkal there is a propaganda, but not every Ramayana written before is written with a propaganda. No. Everybody, the bhav with which they have been written is actually a very good. It's out of bhakti, right? So it got written contextualizing the time, the place, and the bhav the poet or the author had for Sri Ram. For example, if you take Ramcharitmanas, Tulsidas ji's the greatest work that we have today, Ramcharitmanas, and it's thanks to him that the story of Sri Ram, actually, especially in parts of North India, West India, it's because of him that even today the story of Sri Ram is so prachalit, so prasiddha in India. However, there are differences between how Valmiki ji presents Sri Ram and how Goswami Tulsidas ji presents Sri Ram. Of course, there is divinity in Valmiki Ramayana as well. Yeah, there is an indication of Shri Ram's avatar Purush in Valmiki Ramayana as well. However, when Valmiki ji is writing, he is writing about his king. The way Valmiki Ramayana starts in Balkanda, it starts with a samvada between Valmiki ji and Narad Muni. And Valmiki ji is asking Narad Muni that Konu Asmin Samprate Kale. Samprate is contemporary. In this contemporary times, contemporary as in while Valmiki ji is alive and who's alive with him. Who is this? Who is Gunavan, Viryavan, Dharmagnya, Kritagnya, all of this. So he lists about 16 qualities. He says, who is this person who has the 16 qualities? And interestingly, amongst many qualities, he says, who's the Jitak Krodha? Who's conquered his anger completely? However, Kasya Bibhyati Devaha, of whom even Bhagwan, even Devaha are afraid when Jata Roshasya, when he becomes angry, even gods fear. Who is such a man? And Narad Muni says it's very difficult to have all these qualities in one man. But there is one. There is one who is a king from the Ikshwaku dynasty in Ayodhya. The king of Ayodhya, Shri Ram, he has all these qualities. So Valmiki ji is writing about his Raja who is contemporary to him. Okay. And when Goswami Tulsidas ji writes, much later, now in 1600s, when Hindus were even fighting for survival, when the mandirs were getting broken, when conversion was rampant, when they had to pay taxes, extra tax just to survive as Hindus, yeah, it was a very different society, different time frame that we were living in. And at that point, when people were losing hope, Tulsidas ji wrote about his Ishta Devata, who's a Sharanagat Vatsal, who's the Deva who will always ensure that you are safe and you are secure. Yeah, he's writing out of deep bhakti for Shri Ram. So he's writing about his Deva, his Ishta, versus Valmiki ji, who's writing about his king, who also has divinity, but he's still a king. Yeah, so there is difference in the way, in the portrayal itself of Shri Ram in different epics, yeah, also from different understanding that people have of Shri Ram. So that is one big difference, and the difference need not, as I said, be out of any bad, out of any dvesh or out of any bad intention. It is just out of the way Shri Ram was seen, and that also shows the prasangikta in that sense of Ramayana and Shri Ram, that everybody who hears his story or knows his story, they make him his own. You can relate to him, you look up to him, because if you see Shri Ram's life, right, it is not a smooth ride. At every point, there have been ups and downs that he goes through. There are challenges that he goes through, and still he goes through them the way anybody of us would, just that he doesn't give up ever. He does what needs to be done and the way it needs to be done. Okay, that is why we call him Maryada Purushottam. But I should also say, there is no word of Maryada Purushottam, so to say, used in Valmiki Ramayana. That is a adjective given to him. What does Valmiki Ramayana say? Valmiki Ramayana says, as Srinivaji, you very rightly said, Ramo Vigrahavan Dharmaha. He is the Murtimant Dharmaha, which means he's an embodiment of Dharma. He knows what is Dharma. He knows what must be done, when it should be done, and how it should be done. Yeah. In that sense, he's the Maryada Purushottam. However, it need not be according to how we understand Maryada, so to say. And I will take one example, which is very often used to say that, oh, maybe he was not really a Maryada Purushottam. Yeah. There is this incident of Vali Vadh. We all know. Yeah. And we are told that Shri Ram tells Sugriv that you go fight with Vali. First time Sugriv fights with Vali, Tabhi Shri Ram, because he's not able to distinguish who is Vali and who is Sugriv, doesn't do anything. Then again he gets Vali to wear, he gets Sugriv to wear a har, Gandha Pushpa, a mala of Gandha Pushpa, and he says, you go and fight. Now I know it's you, so I will know whom to hit. And then again, Vali and Sugriv, they fight, and Shri Ram, hiding behind, kills Vali, while Vali is focused on fighting with Sugriv. Now, many a times we are told that the reason why Shri Ram had to do that, because in a war, killing somebody from behind is actually not dharma. It is not Maryada. But Shri Ram still did it. So then, is he Maryada Purushottam or not? In the usual definition, to put him in the Maryada Purushottam category, lot of other people would say that, oh, actually, Vali had this strength where he would take away half of the power of the other person. Yeah, if in a fight, if somebody fights with him, samne se, aage se, then he'll take away half of that person's fight energy, and hence the person will always lose. Hence, it is justified to kill him from behind. Yeah, and then it's like, okay, fine. Now it makes sense because now there is a clear justification. However, what does Valmiki Ramayana say about it? Valmiki Ramayana gives no such justification. But Vali does ask this question. Vali says, oh, I was thinking you are a very dharmic man. You are a tapasvi. But what are you in reality? You are not a, you are just wearing the clothes of a tapasvi. You are adharmic in the vesh of a dharmic. He says you are like this, the Agni that is covered by grass. So you can't see the Agni. But if you step on that grass, your leg will burn. He says you are like that. You are something outside, you are something inside. And Shri Ram says, what are you talking about dharma, dharma? Do you know what is dharma, dharma? Have you lived your life according to dharma, dharma at all? I have done nothing that can be called adharma by killing you. And he says, I will tell you why. What have you done in your life? Kama tantra eva pradhanam akurvat. You have only given precedence to Kama tantra. You have only behaved as per your wish and whims and giving in to your indulgences. Just Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mad, Matsarya. This is how you have lived your life. You were not sthita on Raj Vartamni. You were not established on the path that is important for a Raja. If you knew Raj Dharma, you would have done exactly what I have done today. And he says, let me tell you why I killed you and why it is in accordance with Dharma. He says, any person who out of Kama Sakti violates his daughter, his sister, and his younger brother's wife, he deserves to be killed. That is the dharma, that is the danda that has been given for him through smritis. Yeah. And he says, what have you done? Your younger brother was alive. Your younger brother is like a son. He's like a putra. You are like a pita. By that relation, Ruma, who you took away forcibly from Sugriv, she is your snusha. She's your daughter-in-law. And what did you do? You forcibly violated your daughter-in-law. That is completely against dharma. And this, for such a crime, such an offense, only vadha, only mrityu danda is the danda that has been prescribed. And hence I killed you. I was not in a war with you. This is not a yuddha. This is a danda. He says, Orasim Bhaginim Anujasya Snusha. Daughter, wife, younger brother's wife, Yaha Kamat Narha Pracharet. If of these two, if a man behaves with them out of Kama Sakti, if he violates them just out of lust, then what is the danda for that? Vadha eva. For them, the danda given is vadha. And hence I have killed you. And now, instead of arguing with me, do what is right for you. Do that will lead you to, which will do your uddhar, which is accept that danda. Because if you accept that danda, you will be cleansed of the karma. But if I had not given you danda, being a representative of the Chakravarti Raja of Ayodhya, he says the Chakravarti Raja of Ayodhya is Bharat. And because we are Chakravartis, we have a say in all this place which is under us. And wherever we see adharma, it is our duty, it is our kartavya, it is our Raj Dharma to set it straight. So what you had done was complete adharma. It sets a completely wrong precedence, and hence I killed you. Now you see the definition of Maryada is completely different. The definition of Maryada is you set the right precedence in the society as a Raja, and he did what he needed to do, however he needed to do it. It was not a fight. And hence he killed Wali from however he had to be killed, because it was a punishment given to him. This is what Shri Ram himself explains. Doesn't need justification from any of us why he killed Wali from behind. Complete clarity. That is what Ramo Vigrahavan Dharma is. Complete clarity on why he did what he did. So that is Shri Ram. I'll give you another example. Generally, when Narad Muni, he is first Valmiki ji asked that who has these 16 qualities, and then Narad Muni said, this is Shri Ram who has these 16 qualities. And then he went on to give more adjectives to Shri Ram about how he looks, how his swabhav is, and all of that. And he says he's Ajanu Bahu. His hands touch his knees. So he has long hands. He's Maha Oras. He has large, well-built chest. Sinha Skandha, both Ram and Lakshmana are called Sinha Skandha many times. So like a Simha, like a lion, his shoulders are like lions. So very, very strong, well-built, and all of that. And then again, later in Ayodhya Kand, before the decision of Rajyabhishek of Shri Ram happens, Dashrath asks all the people of Ayodhya that why do you think Shri Ram should be made the king? And amongst the many different adjectives that people talk about of his qualities, there are some words which come, which I think are very, very important for us to know even know Shri Ram, because then in his life we see those playing out. So what are those? One adjective used is Deshakalavit. A person who understands the context of place and time. He's very clear what should be done where, what is appropriate where, and what can be done where. Because at different points in time, different approaches have to work. In different places, in different context, your means will change. And he understands it very well. The other word used for him is Amogha Krodha Harsha. Amogha, the meaning of Amogha is that which never becomes Vifal. That doesn't ever go waste. That is always on target. So what is on target? Even his Krodh and Harsha are on target. Yeah, which means he gets angry when he needs to get angry, and when he gets angry, he gets the job that he needs to get done. Yeah. Typically, because of television series or whatever, there is this idea that, oh, he would not get angry at all. He was always in one mode, always calm, smiling, peaceful. Yes, he was all of that, but that doesn't mean he was not angry. He would get angry when he needed to, because he also knew he was Purush Saragnya. He understood the psychology of people. He understood the essence of people. Swadosha Paradoshavit. He also understood what are the flaws in people and in himself. Yeah. So he was a person who had deep understanding of human beings as well, of human psychology as well. And hence, he knew how to act with whom to act. Another example that I was giving you, for which I laid out this entire context. So when, after Vali is killed, Sugriv gets the kingdom. He's made the king of Kishkindha. He gets Ruma back. And so many years he's been living in exile. So and finally, after all these years, he's back in luxury. So he's just given himself to reveling and luxury and alcohol, and he's totally madmasta. He's having a good time. Also because it was the time of the rainy season, Varsha Rutu. And in Varsha Rutu at that time, nobody ventured out. Yeah. Hence, the whole project of looking for Sita Ma was on hold at that point in time. But after the Varsha Rutu, it had to start. Now, our man Sugriv, he had no clue of time at all. He was completely intoxicated, just completely indulging, having a good time and all of that. At some point, Hanumanji reminded him that he needed to get started on the promise he'd made to Shri Ram about finding Sita Ma. So in his intoxication, he says, tell Neil to get all these Sena of mine from everywhere, give them 15 days to come. Now here, Varsha Rutu is over, and Shri Ram and Lakshman, they are waiting. That now Sugriv will come and tell us that we are starting the work and all that. But Sugriv doesn't come. At some point, then Shri Ram becomes very upset and he becomes very angry. He says, "This is not done. We've kept our side of the deal. He became a king because of us. Now he's behaving like a Krutagna. Now, if he's behaving like a Krutagna, we have to send a message to him as well. We cannot be taken for granted. And he needs to keep his side of the promise." So he is the one who tells Lakshman that go and give this message, a very stern message to Sugriv. Now, when he says the message, and I'll tell you what he says. Lakshman is like, "Definitely, I will go, and if he doesn't listen to me, I will kill him." And Sri Ram says, "No, don't do that. Just give him the message. I know he will listen. I understand him, but he needs to be told that now the time is going, and we need to make him aware that he has to keep his side of the promise. So just tell him this. You don't need to do anything else. I'm sure this much will work." And the message that Sri Ram gives, typically, I'm surprised we don't hear of this often. He says, "Tell him, Nacha sankuchita pantha yena vali hatogata samay tishtha sugriva navali patham anvaga." He says, "Sugriv, the road, the path by which Vali has gone is not closed yet." Which path did Vali go by? Sri Ram killed him, no? So he says that path from which Vali has gone to Parlok, that is not closed yet. Samay tishtha, be ready. Pull up your socks on time. Don't follow the path of Vali. He's like, if you don't now keep your word, be ready to go on the path which I sent Vali. This is the message that Sri Ram gives. Yeah, he is an astute king, an astute statesman. Again, Maryada setting is also about how he lives his life, but Maryada setting is also how he gets others to live their lives and others to stay within the Maryada that they need to stay into. Yeah, we usually look at it only from one angle. Of course, his life as well. His life also, he has lived by Maryada. But again, the Maryada is not how we understand it as rigid, because this is how I used to think. So when I give all these examples to people, they're like, "Oh, wow, this is so different from the image of Shri Ram we had." And I said, yes, actually, if one has to follow someone, it's easier to follow Shri Ram. Easier to kya hai? It's not easy anyways, because to go through all human emotions, be it love, be it anger, be it pain, be it viraha, the description that Valmiki ji gives about the mansik sthiti of Shri Ram after Sita ji has been kidnapped by Ravan, it is moving. It is moving. He has cried so many times. How many times he has said that I will not even go to Ayodhya without her? How many times he has said that I will not be able to live without her? How many times he said that if I can't find her, Vinashyami Sacharacharam, I will destroy this entire world if I don't see her. How many times? How many times he's been running behind animals, asking them, "Have you seen Drashta Sita? Have you seen Shrita? Have you seen my Priya?" He tells Kadamba, the Kadamba tree, he says, "Hey Kadamba, have you seen Kadamba Priya? He says, my Priya, my dear, we loved your flowers. So Kadamba Priya, he's saying Sita. So he's like, "Hey Kadamba, have you seen the Kadamba Priya of mine? Like my beloved used to love your flowers. Have you seen her? Please tell me." And he's going around asking everybody, and of course they're not saying anything. Trees, lions, elephants, what will they say? And he becomes so angry. He's like, "If I don't see her, I will destroy everything else." When Sugriv shows him the ornaments, the abhushan of Sitama, he faints because he is missing her so much. In Ashok Vatika, when Hanumanji tells Sitama about the sthiti of Sri Ram, he says he has no nidra, anidra shokaha. He is in shok, he is in anidra. He says, "Tava adarshanath Raghavaha paritapyate." Without seeing you, Raghav is burning. He's not at peace at all. That is the halat of Shri Ram. So he's a man who's gone through all these emotions. And in spite of that, he does what he needs to do at the time when a decision has to be taken. He doesn't let emotions get the better of him when a decision has to be made. While going through all human emotions that we go through, He's romantic, he's emotional, he expresses all of that. So same goes for, anyways, I can go on, but I'll stop to see if there are other questions.
Because I think we can keep on discussing about it, but as we have a limitation of time today, if anyone from the audience want to ask any questions, kindly raise your hand so that we can unmute you. Actually, I have one question. Have you, while in search of Sita, all the army of the Kapivanara, the Vanara Sena has been sent in all the directions, all the 10 directions, and there has been description of many what you call many geographical descriptions have been given. How did you find them to be, and did you find anything fascinating about it?
Oh, absolutely. So that whole chapter, which is called Sugriv's Atlas, is absolutely fascinating. The details that Sugriv has given about the 4 directions, north, east, west, and south. When I was reading this, I was living in Indonesia at that point. So you see a very clear description of he talking about Yavadvipa, Suvarna Dweepa, all of that. So at that time, he's talking about this direction. And there is a place, then he says that when you go further east, you reach this golden mountain kind of a thing. And there you will see a Dvaja on a Vedi, or Trishula, like Trishula Dvaja on a Vedi, Ketu over there. And that is the end point, he says. And it's very, very fascinating that if you look up Peru Candelabra, you will see that image even now in Peru. Yeah, so it is still there. So if somebody is interested in this topic, there is a lecture by Nilesh Neelkant Oak on Sugriv's Atlas. It's a beautiful lecture. He takes all references from Valmiki Ramayana, from Kishkindha Kand, and he actually says kahan pe kya kya hai. Like in one of the descriptions, it is given that if you go to east, you will find certain type of people who eat raw fish. Yeah, and we know what is raw fish today. It is sushi, right? So Nilesh has explained it very well. So do look up that lecture on Sugriv's Atlas.
Oh, thank you. I think we have Krishna ji. Please unmute yourself.
Hello.
Ji, namaste Krishna ji.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah.
I'm audible?
Yeah.
Ji.
Actually, I want to ask one question. It's related to. So my question is, in Ramayana, it is mentioned that distance between Bharat and Lanka was around 100 yojanas.
100 yojanas.
So maybe it is from Rameshwaram to Lanka. So, but in reality, what we can see in map is that the real distance is around 55 kilometers, which we today at present it is known as Park Strait, just the region between the 2 nations. So while I was doing research at my end, so I was ended up reading about the topic Ice Age.
Yeah.
And
so Krishna ji, I just I get your question. Let me just tell you what are the different viewpoints on this. Yeah. Okay. So a lot of people say that what we see of Lanka today is actually not this Lanka. It's actually not Sri Lanka. Lanka was probably more further away and more central from the point of where India is. Yeah. So it could be that Lanka was actually different from present day Sri Lanka. Or some people say present day Sri Lanka could have been a part of Lanka, a small part of the larger Lanka. So what we see today might not actually have been Lanka. So there are lots of debates and discussions going on it, and we don't really have an answer.
Okay. So it is a topic of debate, not real. Historical region is present. Okay. Okay, thank you.
Also, in this, there are lots of theories. So some people say actually the distance is not from Rameshwar, but from some point in Odisha. From that's where they are saying, because they see the Mahendragiri Parvat from where Hanumanji jumped. They say actually it comes in this place also. So maybe they meant from this side, not from Rameshwaram as we understand today. So there are many different theories about the starting point as well as the end point. and we don't have an accurate answer.
So there was one topic related to the Lord Ram building the Shiv temple, but it is present in Rameshwaram.
It's
So
not
what
in
about?
Valmiki Ramayana.
Okay.
Again, let me just specify one more thing here using the question you asked, Krishnaji. As I said, people have written Ramayana from their bhav, their context. Yeah. So
Okay.
a lot of upasana related stuff where you see, "Arey, ye mandir jo hai, ye Shri Ram built," and all of that, you may not find it in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay. You will not find it in Valmiki Ramayana. There is another poet story in which it is said that Shri Ramji, he prayed to Shakti with his eyes and all of that, right? Like he was offering 100 kamals. This also doesn't come in Valmiki Ramayana. There is another very good trivia point, and I got a lot of flack for it. I got a lot of flack for saying that Hanumanji does not have a gada in Valmiki Ramayana. In Valmiki Ramayana, there is no mention of gada. Absolutely no mention of gada. But more often, I mean, imagining Hanumanji without a gada, how do we even do that, right? It's just shocking. So I understand the shock that people went through. I would say this to it, yeah. Upasana is different from itihas. Upasana is defined, developed over time by sampradayas, by rishis who we follow, right? When deification happens, when upasana starts, our rishis saw the Ishta, the Devata, in a certain form and roop. Like you have a Dhyana Shloka for the Devatas, right? The Dhyana Shloka will always have the Devata with a Vahana, with a Astra Shastra, all of that, with Ayudha. So that's how they saw while doing Upasana, while doing meditation, yeah? So we need not try to match Itihas with Upasana Paddhati. Upasana Paddhati has its own merit. Obviously, there is, because people are genuinely gaining spiritual merit as well as emotional and psychological benefit out of it. So it has its own purpose. Yeah. So while there are these stories ki yahan unhone kiya ye kiya, there might be, I mean, we may not find it in Itihas, but it still has its own spiritual purpose and merit. So we need not discard that because Itihas mein nahi hai. But as far as the Aitihasik drishti goes, and when I say Itihas, I only refer to two texts, which is Valmiki Ramayana and Vyas Rachit Mahabharata. Agar isme nahi hai, so the Aitihasik value need not be accurate. Okay? But the spiritual value is still there. So being Indians, we are very comfortable with this kind of variables. So it's great, and let it should be that way.
Yeah.
Can we come to the point that maybe this land is submerged in sea?
I think we can take another question. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah. Lakshmi Kumariji, please, you can ask your question.
Okay, thank you, Srinivasji. Namaste, ma'am.
Namaste.
Yeah. I smiled a couple of times while you're talking. I'm very happy listening to you. When you said that when you have read Ramayana, it was very emotional. That would be the feeling of everyone who reads Ramayana, is very happy. And while you're saying about Maryada Purushottama, and while you're saying that he even gets angry, that's one thing where people take that, oh, Rama means he shouldn't be angry at all. If someone is angry, no, you cannot be Rama. Rama doesn't do like that. That's very, I felt very happy. And I'm happy for you that you have been chosen for this because when people who read Shastras, when they say these things, they think that they are doing marketing for their studies. But when people like you talk, they try to listen and they think why she has that need at all to talk about this when she has something else to do, and they start thinking and they will listen and they will change. That's so nice of you, ma'am. And my question is, what are the questions that you face, or what is the thing that we need to change to get a change in the youth? Because initially you said that the current day youth is very comfortable in following Sri Krishna, but not Sri Rama. They doesn't want to do what he does, be like him. So what is that we can do to change, to bring that change and understand Rama in a holistic way, not just picking up some things from somewhere?
Lakshmiji, actually, I would say that their understanding of Sri Krishna is also not correct. To reduce Sri Krishna to somebody who breaks rules is actually not it is quite a sad reflection on how we see him. Shri
Yeah.
Krishna and Shri Ram, we call them both avatars, and we have avatars because, as Shri Krishna says, na, dharma sansthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. Both are here for dharma sansthapan, and for dharma sansthapan, they both have done what needs to be done, setting the right example,
Yeah.
right? So it is not as if Shri Krishna is jumping to break the rules at every opportunity he gets. No, it's not that. Yeah. Even when he is doing something, he has a very, very clear, absolutely clear rationale justification for why he is doing what he's doing. And he tells the person that what you think is adharma is not adharma. This is the reason why you deserve to be treated like this. Yeah. So there also, I think we've trivialized the character of Shri Krishna to an extent that we feel that it is all about chal kapat. It is not. Right? Like, on the other hand, we've made Shri Ram about being supremely idealistic and stubborn and all that, which he is also not. They both do what need to be done at that time, point, situation, context to set the right precedents and to establish dharma. So it is for both. I wouldn't even say it's for one. Now, how do we change that? We change that by actually talking about them as much as we can. At least people who know should spread more, talk more about it. I can always say school mein dalo, but now I don't have the influence to actually do that in school, right? So I would tell every parents कि आप घर से शुरू करिए ना. सबसे पहले तो figure out yourself. If you have questions, don't stop there. सबसे पहली बात वो. If we have questions, we shouldn't just stop there. We should actually go deeper into it. Second, we should not even stop our kids from questioning. Let them question. We should encourage them to find the answers if we ourselves cannot give them answers. Now, what is important here is instilling in them the right bhav. And it is not just for epics, for anything in life. Questioning should definitely happen. I absolutely don't believe that Shri Ram or Shri Krishna or anybody is above questioning. No. Having questioned, I have come to a conclusion that if they are doing something and if it doesn't make sense to me, then that is because of the limitation of my knowledge. But this is after questioning, I have reached to that level of Shraddha that I have. Yeah. So, but the questioning should not happen from a point of dismissal or discounting. The questioning has to happen from a point of utkantha, curiosity, to find an answer, to learn with an open mind. And this is something we need to instill in our kids bachpan se. So I think it starts at home, and I am actually extremely, extremely optimistic because a lot of my interactions are actually happening with students, and I have been amazed at the kind of questions I get asked. I have been amazed at the kind of reactions I get when I talk to them about some of these things. So there is a lot of curiosity for sure, and even the willingness to go find and do research in these topics.
Okay. So when you interact with kids and when you give answer, do you feel that yes, they are ready for the change, or still they are?
Ma'am, absolutely. Let me give you one very simple example. And some of these are actually as simple as that. This happened just last week. I was in one of the universities talking to some of the youngsters. And I was telling them that what you're understanding typically, because they were asking similar questions. Ki ye to galat tha, ma'am. Aap keh rahe ho dharma, but what Krishna did was wrong. Actually, Duryodhan was not so bad and all those things. Okay? So I was explaining ek karke. Then one very, very smart young woman, she told me, but ma'am, it's so unfair to even call him Duryodhan. His name was Suyodhan. We have made it Duryodhan. This is so unfair because why will any parent call his son Duryodhan, give him a bad name? It is not as if they knew he's always going to be bad. We all want to give good names to our children. And I said, you are bang on. You are absolutely bang on. Now I said, do you know the meaning of Suyodhan and Duryodhan? And she's like, Duryodhan means something bad. Suyodhan means something good. I said, no, let me tell you the definition as it comes from Vachaspatyam, from the Sanskrit dictionary. Duryodhan means Dukkhena yodhaniyam. Dukkhena yodhayate iti. One who is very difficult to be defeated in the war. And Suyodhan is Sukhena yodhaniyam. One who can be easily defeated in the war. I said, now you tell me which is a better name. Suyodhan or Duryodhan? And this woman was shocked. She's like, ma'am, is that correct? I said, huh? I said, you go and check. You don't have to trust me. You go and check, no, what it means. And she's like, but ma'am, I read in all these places, they keep saying like, I read this author, that author. They said his name is actually Suyodhan. I said, yeah, he was called Suyodhan. You have that name in Mahabharata also. But you know who called him Suyodhan? It was Draupadi, Krishna, the Pandavas. They called him Suyodhan. His parents, will the parents call their own son that he will be easily defeated in the war? You tell me. And she's like, ma'am, which means a lot of these things that they write is false. I said, now you have this one very simple example. Forget everything else, forget the learnings and stuff, right? So, which means the people who are making these claims, and I know that a lot of novels actually say this, that Duryodhan was actually good, his name was Suyodhan, right? Now, Suyodhan by itself is not a quality, it is a durgun that you get easily defeated in the war. And this one was like, ma'am, I have to read your books. I said, please do. Just a very, very small thing, right?
Yeah.
It's such a technical thing. And once that seed of doubt is raised in their mind, they will start questioning.
Okay.
Thank you very much, madam. I think we are running short of time, and I'm really sorry for others who have raised their hands that we are not able to take your questions. I request you to kindly share your questions in the chat box so that we will pass on to Amiji, and maybe if she can answer them on the social media platforms, it will be very much useful for others also. Okay. Oh, thank you very much. So yeah, Amiji has extended her this thing. So I request Shantanuji kindly. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Within a few minutes of listening about Rama, I was kind of emotional, and a completely new, different perspective about Sri Rama was, came to me. I've purchased both of your books, going through it, and thank you so much for bringing this knowledge to the people. My question is, ma'am, to the previous discussion, to the previous answer that you mentioned, that perhaps Sri Krishna is looked upon more from a Vyavharik Chaturya point of view, being clever in Vyavhara. But when you have gone through Ramayana and gone through, understood Rama's life so deeply, what are some of those lessons? Entire Ramayana and his life is a lesson, but what are some of those lessons which one can pick up when it comes to Loka Vyavhara, day-to-day interaction with people? Thank you, ma'am.
Shantanuji, everything and anything. As I said, right, what we see in Sri Ram's life is that he actually is a very expressive and emotional person. Like most of he expresses his emotion. He does not let emotions overpower him. That is one of the biggest gunas of Shri Ram. Okay. Now, as far as Vyavaharik Drishti goes, this one thing on Vali, I already explained. The thing on Sugriv, that is also Lok Vyavhar. Also, right? That you have to, जहाँ पे गुस्सा दिखाना है, आपको गुस्सा दिखाना पड़ेगा. जहाँ पे प्यार दिखाना है, आपको प्यार दिखाना पड़ेगा. Right? But जहाँ गुस्सा दिखाना है, वो भी दिखाना पड़ेगा. Let me give you one more example of his Vyavaharikta. We all know that he accepted Vibhishan on his side. Lot of Vanar Senapatis were not happy. They were like, you can't trust him. Okay. But Shri Krishna, then eventually Shri Ram says, no. After a long discussion, now I'm not getting into that discussion, but there is a thorough discussion on whether Vibhishan should be taken in or not. It is not just about, Acha, I am Sharnagat Vatsal, so I'm taking him. Okay. Is he Sharnagat Vatsal? Absolutely. Eventually, when Sugriva is still saying, matlo, he says, no, he's come to me, I will not say no. But as soon as Vibhishan is brought to him, he doesn't waste time asking, oh, how are you? Are you okay? What happened? Nothing. Immediately he says, tell me, Lankayaha balavalam sarvam akhyahi. Tell me the complete pros, cons, strengths, weakness of Lanka. Immediately. Yeah, he knows what is the purpose of Vibhishan. He's not saying, nay, how can I get him to say against his brother? That is adharma. No. He knows if Vibhishan is here, he has to use Vibhishan well. Absolutely. Not 1 second he wastes. He says, tell me the strengths, weaknesses, fortification of Lanka, what it is. And then Vibhishan, acha. Now you see how smart this is, right? If Vibhishan would have dilly-dallied, if Vibhishan would have hesitated in saying, he would have immediately known that he's come with the wrong intention, right? But if Vibhishan has come with the right intention, he would say what he had to say, right? So he tested Vibhishan also with that one thing and got to know the information that he needed, the intelligence of the enemy, that also he got. Acha. He didn't stop there. Once Vibhishan said all this, and Vibhishan said, yeah, Lanka is very powerful, so much fortification, Ravan himself is very powerful, all of that. He says, Hanishyami Ravanam Saha Atmajam. I will kill Ravan with all his people. Now again, if Vibhishan was still loyal to the other side, his expression would have shown, right? Immediately he's being told that I'm going to kill Ravan wherever he is. Whichever Patal Lok he has gone to, I will kill him and I will make you the king. Again, a master stroke. He has told Vibhishan, if you are loyal to me, you will get this. Vibhishan has not asked for it. He has said. So at any point in time, if Vibhishan, say later on, thinks, Arey Bapre, how can I be disloyal to my brother? What if the whole Lanka is destroyed and Ram will take away? So there would have been a chance for Vibhishan to go back. But having told him, having given him the carrot also, that I am going to make you the king, and also by testing him by saying, I'm going to kill everybody, he achieved a master stroke in the real sense of the word, right? Is this not Vyavharik? This is as Vyavharik, as diplomatic, as smart as it can get, right? And somehow these aspects of Shri Ram are not spoken of. But he is a king and he has all the characteristics and qualities that are required to be the king, which also means being shrewd and being diplomatic. And he has those. Yeah. So I would definitely request you to read about him. It's quite a story. It's quite, I mean, it's history of ours. And that is when I realized that why he is so prasangik in spite of all these years.
We have Shivam Nerji asking a question that what are the Ramayanas that you have referred for your book? As Valmiki Ramayana is like southern recension, Acharya commentaries and critical edition, and hence which Ramayana shall common public get to read?
So one, Valmiki Ramayana is the Aitihasik Ramayana. You can read whatever you want. Everybody has its merit. Every other Ramayana has its merit. So I'm not discounting any. But from an Aitihasik value, we must read Valmiki Ramayana for sure. Now, in Valmiki Ramayana, as you very rightly said, there are different recensions. There's something from the south, there's something from the east, there's something from north and all of that. Hence, like Bori did this thing of critical edition of Mahabharata, MS University Baroda also did a critical edition of Ramayana. However, based on what I have seen, the difference in them is not that big at all. So you can read whichever you want, as long as it is Valmiki Ramayana. The gist, the core story, all of that remains the same. It is even more consistent than Ramayana in that, than Mahabharata in that sense, even Mahabharata. So when people started making the critical edition, they were surprised because they were also expecting that different manuscripts from different regions will give a completely different story. But to their greatest surprise, that was not the case. The story, the characters, the larger storyline, they were all very, very, very consistent. There are some differences, especially in Mahabharata. There are some differences in some incident. कुछ इसमें है, कुछ इसमें नहीं है. कुछ स्तुतियां इसमें है, कुछ स्तुतियां उसमें नहीं है. But the core story, the personalities are all very same. And Mahabharata तो उतना भी फर्क नहीं है. So you can pick up Gita Press. You can pick up there is a site called valmikiramayan.net, which has both Sanskrit and English translation. That is also good. You can also pick up Vivek Debroyji's translation in 3 volumes. He's done it on critical edition. So they're all fine. You can pick up whichever you like. As long as it is Valmiki Ramayana for Valmiki Ramayana. You can read other Ramayans as well, but the Ramayana of Valmiki ji is only one.
Another question from Rathod ji is, has Valmiki ji written Anand Ramayana? Because some of the articles on internet says Valmiki ji has written Anand Ramayana, and some articles say Anand Ramayana was written in 15th century by unknown author. So
yeah. So yeah. I mean, I don't know. Okay. We know for sure that Valmiki Ramayana was written by Valmiki ji. Okay. But there are many texts which are later day, but they have been given those names. For example, there is this very nice book called Pak Darpanam. Okay, this Pak Darpanam is a book on recipes. And it is told that it is written by Nala of Nala Damayanti fame. And they have given a Mahabharat background story to it. Now, nobody really believes it is written by Nal. Okay, because it's a later thing, but they have given it that context. So I really don't know about Anand Ramayana, but again, I will say this. The core text is Valmiki Ramayana. Everything else has its purpose. If there is a difference, if there is a conflict or contradiction in an event that is shown in Valmiki Ramayana versus in other all sorts of Ramayans, then from an aitihasic value, we should go with Valmiki Ramayana.
Yeah. And maybe similar question from Vaishnavi ji is that what is the basic difference between Valmiki and Tulsi ji Ramayana, which is more correct on incidents? I think it is
Valmiki Ramayana. And I told you the difference. The difference is the way it is written. The bhav itself is very different in both.
Yeah. And there is another question from Project Kalki saying that I have questions regarding multiverse told in Ramayana. When Ramji throws his ring in underworld,
not in Valmiki Ramayana.
Not in Valmiki.
Not in Valmiki Ramayana.
Yeah. So, can you shed some light on Rama Hanuman relation, as Hanuman got his Lakshya and the sensitized perceptions from Rama? I mean, maybe the question is regarding the relation between Hanuman and Rama described in Ramayana. What kind of a relation that could that it can be chalked out?
So again, not a lot of people are going to like what I'm going to say. Yeah, the complete this whole thing about Hanumanji opening his chest and showing Shri Ramji and all that, you don't find that in Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, in Valmiki Ramayana, Hanumanji is a minister of Sugriv. He's as loyal to Sugriv as he is to Shri Ram. Okay, so he has as much bhakti bhav and loyalty for Sugriv as he has for Shri Ram also. Now, obviously, he is very fascinated by Shri Ram. And he, while introducing himself, he'll say both, I'm the Dasa of Sugriv as well as of Shri Ram, and I've come to do his task. Okay. The image of Hanumanji, the impression of Hanumanji's character that we get from Valmiki Ramayana is that he is an absolutely fantastic ambassador, intelligent person, somebody who can be completely relied on to carry out any task. There are 4 qualities that Valmiki talks about when he talks about Hanumanji. He says he has Dhriti, Drishti, Daksha, and Mati. Intelligence, vision, fortitude, resolution, and skill of implementation. Yeah, these are the qualities which actually come out when we see Hanumanji in Valmiki Ramayana. If you see Sundarkand is actually a fantastic description of how Hanumanji makes decisions. How he himself goes through negative emotions, how he comes out of it, how he is thinking about where to look, how to look, how he's questioning in his own mind, is this the right thing to do? Oh, what if Sitaji is not here? How he's making those connections, how he's actually then deciding to do Dhwasta of Ashok Vatika. It is fabulous. It is absolutely fabulous, but not in the sense which we are used to know. Yeah, so the bhakti element is there, but again, as I said, Valmiki ji is writing about his Raja. Tulsidas ji is writing about his Ishta, and hence everybody, even in Ramayana, is looking at Shri Ram only as an Ishta. Whereas in Valmiki Ramayana, everybody is looking at Shri Ram as a Raja with divinity, of course, but it is
and hence Valmiki Ramayana is called as Itihasa.
Yes. Yes.
No, not with many Atishayoktis as we see in the Kavya.
Correct.
There is another question on by Kamakshi ji stating that what is your interpretation on Rama sending Sita to forests on listening to one Dhobi's comments in spite of knowing that.
Okay, so there is no, I'm not going to answer this question because it will take me 10 minutes to actually answer it, and we are already extended. I
Yeah.
have written about it in the book. I would request you to
Yeah.
read it. And I have actually spoken about this a lot in many talks. So even if you don't read the book, you can find somewhere this answer. I will just say this, it is not based on one Dhobi saying. Okay, there is a Lok Apvad that has happened. And the way to look at this, first of all, the question is whether Uttarakhand hai ki nahi hai, because this part comes from Uttarakhand. Okay, a lot of people believe Uttarakhand is not a part of Valmiki Ramayana. If we believe that, then this episode doesn't happen at all. Many people, however, a lot of traditional Paramparic schools believe it has happened. Okay, so even if we believe it has happened, there is a drishti to see it, and the drishti is about not to judge Shri Rama or Sita ji. It is about a dharma sankat, and I will leave it at that. So that dharma sankat, how should we deal with dharma sankats in our life? Because again, the purpose of itihas is to give us upadesh of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So it is very, very easy for us to judge people. Sahi kiya, galat kiya, sahi kiya, galat kiya. And hona bhi chahiye. I'm not saying judging is wrong. Yeah, because from that also we set our own standards and stuff. However, when we look at an itihas, the purpose is also to learn what is in it for me. So what is in it that we learn from such dharma sankats? How would we behave when we are in those dharma sankats? And I will leave it here because it will take me a long time to explain the whole thing.
So thank you very much, madam, for sparing your valuable time with us on this occasion of Ram Navami. And I would just take 2 minutes to wrap up. So first of all, I would like to thank Amiji for accepting to be part of this talk, and despite having a very busy schedule this week, so she accepted in a very short while, and I really thank her on behalf of Kameshwari Foundation. And on the occasion of Ram Navami, we have made a small video upon significance of Ram Navami, and we'll be sharing some links in the chat box relating those videos. And there are 3 things that we have to do tomorrow according to the Dharma Shastra Granthas. That is, one is Upavasa Diksha, second is Rama Navami Vratam, and third one is Jagaranam. So Upavasa Vratam is not to have food, and do a Rama Navami Vrata. So we have prepared 3 different blogs of this Rama Navami Vrata. So how to perform Rama Navami Vrata in 3 different scripts. One is in Telugu and Devanagari and Roman scripts, so that it will be easy for everyone to actually perform. It is a self-help kind of a blog that we have prepared, so that as many as people can perform Rama Navami Vratam tomorrow. So we wish all once again happy Shri Rama Navami tomorrow. And we would like to end this session with a small chant of mantra. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you. Thank you once again. And kindly all the links have been shared in the chat, and you can actually access them. Thank you very much.
Jai Shri Ram. Thank you so
Jai
much.
Shri Ram. Thank you, madam. Thank you.